Good evening, friends, and thank you for tuning in for Game 4 of the Illinois State Twilight Struggle Tournament. Tonight's matchup marks the first game of the competition for Patryk Krasnicki, whose last official Twilight Struggle action came in OTSL Season 2 earlier this year. He'll be going up against tournament organizer Derek Miller, who comes into this contest at 1-1. With Frank Zhang, I'm Justin Abramson, and it's great to have you with us for what we hope will be the first game of this tournament to make it to the late war. Last week's game was a frustrating one for Derek as the scoring cards all seemed to come at a bad time for him, and that led to a turn 4 DEFCON loss after a desperation missile envy went very wrong indeed. Patryk, on the other hand, will be playing his first official game in over 9 months, and he's got a tall task for the opener as he has to deal with the Federation president in Game 1. And as the late, great Michael K. Williams reminds us, you come at the king, you best not miss. We'll be watching Patryk's side of the game tonight. And with that, I'd like to turn to Frank. We'll get to opening hands in a minute. Frank, you were on hand for the last week's U.S. steamroll as well. First, I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you think Derek has learned a valuable lesson about headlining missile envy.
Yeah, great to be here tonight. And yeah, very interesting one last week. We obviously had a pretty unknown opponent for Derek, and I think we were all kind of shocked with that U.S. steamroller. But with another unknown player relatively here, we'll see how this one goes. Um, yeah, in terms of lessons for Derek, it was, like you said, a desperate missile MV play that just didn't go his way.
Yeah, certainly a desperation play when he was down a few victory points. But okay, we've got opening hands here. So we're seeing Patryk's side. Patryk looks like he is going to go with a 4-3-3 opening setup. And what do you notice about his hand here?
Well, he's got some big bunkers, but also two scoring cards, so it'll be very interesting to see how he plays this one out. Middle East scoring stands out as a clear headline choice for me, though.
Yep, a Middle East scoring would be my play here. Let's see what
And
Patryk goes with.
yeah, and very interesting that Patryk chose to overprotect Iran at 3, even though he may be planning on headlining missile or not missile envy Middle East scoring. That card's not in the early war yet.
Yes, Middle East scoring the headline. I think that's exactly the right play. Derek decides to go with captured Nazi scientist, so he'll have that VP lead that Patryk just took. So quickly, 2 points on the board for the U.S. as we end the headline phase. And now with 3 in Italy and 3 in Iran, I think an Italy coup here might be in order, don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah. With equal odds. And of course, Middle East just scored. Patryk is changing some settings, perhaps. Yeah, I was about to start complaining about that animation speed.
Yes, it is going a little bit slowly.
So we'll see if Derek picked up a 4-opper that he's dedicating to this coup.
Oh, indeed, he's given up
Certainly one of
Japan
them.
immediately. Oh, and he rolls a
And
5
that
on the
is
Italy
certainly
coup.
a strong roll.
So a big roll for Derek on the Italy coup gives up the battleground in Asia. And so now the question is, do you score Europe immediately or do you try to fight for it if you're Patryk? Patryk's
Certainly a
going to
good
waste no
question.
time, it looks like, and he's just going to take France. If we're elsewhere to go on the board, I might look at Malaysia here, might look at Pakistan here potentially. But the Middle East is already scored,
Yeah, I
and
think I like
Iran is at 3.
Malaysia.
But I would like to get out of Iran if I were Patryk.
Boost up France to 4. Pretty cautious, but of course with De Gaulle and Suez out there, it's not going to be a useless op.
Yes. So Patryk is going to overprotect France. And independent Reds here. I think this might be Spain-Portugal. What do you think? Oh,
I was going to say
instead,
Spain-Portugal, but that's
yes,
not what I
I
was
like that play
expecting.
as well from Derek, but this is a situation where Jeremy, I would imagine, would dump the scoring card right away and get away with a -1.
That's what
That's
I
what he
would
looks like.
be thinking.
So I'm a little bit surprised to see him use a 4-op here, but certainly taking Pakistan, not a bad play here. Getting into Malaysia, not a bad play either. But with Europe scoring in your hand and a chance to get out of there after a successful Italy coup for -1, I think you've got to take that play right away, don't you?
I think so, yeah. I'm also interested if Derek's scared that Patryk has Asia scoring, because clearly Derek's not holding it, or else I don't think he would have given up US Japan so fast.
Yes, yeah, I cannot imagine that Derek has Asia scoring. And however, you raise an excellent point there, Frank. With that North Korea play, or excuse me, South Korea play, a bit of an unconventional play to take South Korea that early rather than taking Pakistan, but that does give Patryk Asia domination. So maybe Derek responds here by taking Pakistan.
Yeah, you always get more confidence as the US taking Korea if you have Japan, right?
Yes,
Just having that
yes.
extra safety with the war means a lot.
Yes, as the Soviets, I always seem to roll a 4 after I've given up Japan on the Korean War.
Yes, of course. So yeah,
Derek thinking about this, thinking pretty
probably is
hard about
thinking
this
about
play here.
Pakistan. Derek may have a moment of clairvoyance as well and snag up Portugal while Patrick's stuck with Europe scoring. But no, he went into Pakistan, kind of what we expected, I think.
Yeah, and Jeremy thinking hard about a coup here. Is he going to go for it? I think he's going to go for it here. Oh, and he misses on the roll. Rolls just a 2.
Yeah, I think cooing Pakistan was definitely a reasonable play.
Definitely, definitely, it's an aggressive play, and again, Derek seems to be of the mind that Patryk has Asia scoring, so Portugal's probably the least of his
Certainly,
worries.
yeah.
I think he's going to retake Pakistan.
I was gonna
here,
say if Derek had, yeah, I was gonna say if Derek had decall right there, he would have won the race to Thailand as well because Patryk didn't get into Malaysia.
Yes. Yes. So I think a 5th in France here to protect against de Gaulle and Suez is the right play, and then I would go ahead and dump Europe scoring right away. Of course, I would have taken the safe play and dumped Europe scoring multiple ARs ago, but it has worked out fine so far for Patryk as he has taken South Korea. He's got Japan, and if he can win the race to Thailand, he'll get Asia to at least a draw.
Of the 20th century is the challenge of human relations and not of impersonal.
But
So
Frank,
I
I agree with you. It
struggle
doesn't seem like Derek has a D card, and it doesn't seem like he has Vietnam revolts either. And Jeremy does it does indeed dump the scoring card for a -1, so a good play. Doesn't take Portugal right away. Doesn't dump the scoring card right away, but it works out for him.
Yep. Yeah, I was just gonna comment when I lose Italy as the U.S. pretty early. I always struggle if okay, should I fight for France because that 4th battleground isn't worth too much, right? But making it easier for your opponent to get Europe control is pretty scary as well.
Yeah, being down to just West Germany, especially when it's so realignable, if your opponent has France, it can be scary. It's tough to know what to do. Usually, I just panic and play Europe scoring immediately without thinking about anything else. But Jeremy, a little more subtle, a little more savvy than that, and gets away with the -1 anyway. Okay, so Jeremy now up a point. DEFCON is at 3, and Asia the only early war region not to be scored. Derek clearly doesn't have it, so I think my very first priority has got to get at least one into Malaysia here, right?
100% you need access to Thailand.
And I think, despite the fact the Middle East has already scored, I'd like to probably get out of Iran as well, or get out of Israel. So I might put one in the Middle East.
Yeah, I might go
as
to
well.
Egypt, one Malaysia.
Yeah, I like that play. So one Malaysia is right. I like that play from Patryk. One Indonesia also fine. Just make sure D-Call doesn't just snag it. And got to get to Thailand here by the end of the turn. But unless Derek triggers containment, Patryk's only going to have 2 ops to take Thailand with.
I was about to mention maybe it's not right to use the 3-op now because he won't be able to overprotect Thailand this way.
Yes, it looks like Patryk has front-loaded his hand a little bit, played his 4 ops early, then his 3 ops, now he's got the 2. So yes, that is a good point. So Patryk gets into Lebanon, not Egypt. I think that's fine, getting himself some protection there in the Middle East, protect against Suez, and give himself an option to take Thailand on AR6. But still, with just 2 ops in there, not sure. I think I'd have rather had 3, but you can't always get what you want, especially with Asia unscored. I just think that third influence in Thailand is so important.
Yeah, maybe Patryk will catch a break and get a containment. Derek, I'm sure, is thinking about overprotecting Italy here and maybe taking India as well, right?
Yeah, I would think taking India here, getting that 3rd battleground is key. Also, Pakistan is sitting naked out there for the IP war. And indeed, containment comes. So
yeah.
Patryk will have that opportunity to overprotect Thailand. And it looks like Derek does exactly what you say, Frank, and he overprotects Italy against that poke. So I think I wouldn't get fancy here. I'd put 3 into Thailand, with Asia being the only unscored region. Wouldn't you, Frank?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, the fact that, both D-Call and Vietnam revolts can flip Thailand with only 2 ops.
Now the other thing is DEFCON is at 3, which DEFCON is at 3. It's now going to rise to 4. So Derek looks like he's going to have the opportunity to coup Thailand with the China card if he so desires.
That's true.
Okay.
Wow.
So turn 2, blockade and UN intervention is a little bit of a tough hand for Patryk, but he does get Marshall. And Marshall may be a decent headline to ensure he really doesn't ever get dominated in Europe, to get one influence into those 3 Mediterranean countries and shore up France and West Germany a little bit.
That's
De Gaulle
true,
then
but if you
becomes
headline
free.
Marshall, if you do headline Marshall, you're running low on ops on your hand pretty quickly.
Yep, and this IP war headline is probably stronger, especially with Asia unscored. Pakistan's a coin flip here to flip over to Patryk's side, and indeed, he wins the roll. The IP war victimizing Derek once again. So
Derek has not had good luck with the IP war.
The IP war haunted him last week, and sure enough, it haunts him again this week. And I missed it, but I believe, was that exactly a 4 or was it a 5?
I think it may have been a 5, but I'm not too sure.
May have been a 5, but either way, it doesn't matter. So that's a 3rd battleground in Asia for Patryk, and he also threatens a 4th. If Derek does go ahead and flip Thailand, which would be a fine play, Patryk can just dump Marshall into India and take that 4th battleground. So not only flipping the 1 battleground, but that access is huge as well.
I'm not sure if flipping Thailand is great because it is still couable.
Yes, cooing Thailand may be better. Let's see what Derek does here. Big old China card coup. And he rolls a monster 6. So he's going to leave no doubt on Thailand, flipping it over to the red side. And so now Asia still dominated by Patryk, however, and he has the option here to take India. And I hate to spend my only 4 op this early, but I think it's worth it to get that 4th battleground, right? Especially, of course, because Derek may be holding the Korean War and being intent on triggering it this turn.
Yeah, in terms of ops efficiency, right? Pouring 4 ops into the only unscored region, that sounds like a good play to me.
Yep, and then it's a fight for domination on country count, assuming, of course, that Derek is either not holding the war or he loses it.
Yeah, and there's a 50% chance he has it, so he does. He'll be hoping to get lucky.
Yep, and that looks like that's exactly what Jeremy is going to do. So Jeremy now in possession of 4 Asian battlegrounds as well as the China card. Now he's a little ops poor the rest of the way on this hand. He's going to have to use blockade to dump socialist governments. And de Gaulle, he may trigger, or space. Actually, he probably will trigger de Gaulle, maybe space Fidel. He's a little ops poor the rest of the way, but he will be able to fight at least to a draw in Asia and maybe better.
Yep.
De Gaulle effectively a 2-op card, although I hate to leave France at 4-1, given that France is at 5-0 right now. So he has the opportunity to fight for this Asia domination, and Derek, without the China card, is a little bit on his heels here.
It might not be too unreasonable to sacrifice your last action round in UN.govs or something like that, depending on how the turn goes.
Okay, so Derek is going to trigger CIA here, probably a smart move, and allow Patryk to see the rest of his hand. He's got D-stall there. He's also got defectors, which I expect to get held, duck and cover, which I expect to get spaced, and then, of course, Nasser, which now that Patryk has seen it, I expect that to get triggered pretty much as soon as DEFCON hits 2, if indeed Patryk doesn't take Italy. But what I don't see is Asia scoring, so that's not coming out until turn 3.
Yep. And that's, I guess, bad news for Patryk.
Yeah, that is bad news for Patryk, and a break for Derek on scoring card timing, something he really didn't get last week. Last week, Derek took domination in Asia very early. The scoring card didn't come out till later. He lost an IP war and ended up having to score 2 points for his opponent. So a free op here, and would you if you coup to take DEFCON down to 2, Derek just takes Angola, which is not great. If you don't coup,
yep,
Derek may just take his shot at Panama. Not a lot of great options here. Yeah, just take Malaysia, get another country on the board is a fine one. Putting 1 in Egypt isn't bad because then you can follow that. Although if you put 1 in Egypt, it'll just get cooed.
Yeah.
So you have to hope Derek doesn't roll a 4. So
I think I would have went to Egypt. I can't remember if he didn't have Nasser, did he?
Yeah, Derek does have Nasser. Yes. Derek does have Nasser.
Nasser.
So if Patryk's going to go into Egypt, he better put 2 there. As it is, he decides to take Indonesia. Again, a perfectly fine play to shore up country count there. And yes, Derek is going to go for the Panama shot. Going to try and roll at least a 4. He misses on the roll. And so DEFCON now hits 2. And so I think at this point, Frank, Angola seems like the right play. I might
100%.
blockade socialist governments here and just head to Angola. What do you think?
I might use more ops because D-stall's coming next, so I might try to take Algeria as well.
Oh, that is an interesting thought. Yeah, Nasser could be coming next. D-stall could be coming
Colombia
next.
walk even.
Yeah, Colombia play could be good. You just don't have a ton to follow it up with is the only issue.
Yeah,
but yes, a Colombia play would probably force a D-stall of 2 into Venezuela. You're right.
A bit of a tricky situation, but the 1 in Angola is definitely a must.
Yeah, I think the 1 in Angola is most important, but I like your idea of 1 in Colombia. 1 in Egypt is pointless. You could go 2 in Egypt to protect against Nasser. But yeah, I think Patryk at this point is wishing he had a clean 3-op, but he really does not. This is a little bit of a tough call. But I do like 1 in Colombia to force either a coup of Colombia or more likely just a D-stall with 2 into Venezuela.
Yep.
So it would be 2 into Venezuela, 1 into Chile, and then probably 1 in Africa somewhere. Maybe Algeria, maybe Angola, although that seems a little bit wasteful with one already in South Africa. We'll see what Derek decides to. Well, first we'll see what Patryk decides to do, and we'll see how Derek decides to respond.
Looks like he's reaching for a small chip in blockade.
And taking Malaysia, I'm not. Boy, I am not sure I like that play, Frank. I would have liked to see. Yeah, Eric doesn't have Asia
Yeah.
scoring, and so Asia country count is not going to be relevant until later. I think getting Angola is more important. So I would
I think
expect to
that
see
was
D-Stall
maybe the
or
first
Nasser
clear
here.
mistake we've seen.
Yes. So I think that's a little bit of a misstep by Patryk. Let's see how Derek decides to respond. I think a D-Stall here is probably the right play. But now he can
Yeah,
afford to go
I'm
just
expecting
one
the
into
D-Stall.
Venezuela. So one Venezuela,
Maybe
one
you can
Chile,
even
one
pull.
Angola, one Algeria or Nigeria, something of that nature. Would you go into Central America? I don't like a Central America D-Stall, but it's an option.
Yeah, I liked your play. Where do you pull the ops from, though? Maybe you could definitely afford one from Thailand.
Yeah, certainly
After
at least
rolling that
one from
monstrous
Thailand,
six.
maybe two, and then one from Finland. Probably one from one of the
Yep.
Eastern European battlegrounds, and then maybe,
Maybe Korea?
maybe South Korea. Although having access to Jam South Korea, or Jam Japan is nice. Ooh, and
Exactly,
Derek
it
is
could
going
be
to go for
relevant in the
ops
future.
here.
Wow. Oh, that's right. He is in South Africa. I forgot that for a second. He could just move there himself.
Yes, yes. So
Save
that
his D-Style to get him into Central America.
Yes, he doesn't need he. So my only thought was if he destalled then and didn't go into Angola, then Patrick could respond and take Angola then. But obviously he's just going to play ops, and so that is not necessary. So now Derek threatens Portugal. Make sure he gets presence in the Middle East, which is important for next turn, and takes Angola.
Interesting that Patryk is considering just triggering and repairing .govs.
So I guess you don't have to. Patryk does not have to repair all three ops. He can let France go down to 4. Probably
Yeah,
I would
assuming
imagine
two
Derek
come
would
out
take
of
2.
Germany, though.
He'd take 2 out of West Germany, maybe 1 out of the UK, or maybe 1
Yeah.
out of France.
So you're
you would
using
have
at
to.
least 2 ops to repair.
Yeah, this is at best a 1 op card. And I'm not sure where the 1 op would go. I mean, maybe the 1 op goes to Colombia here.
Oh, and Derek did not pull any from Germany. That's very interesting. Just wants to weaken France for a future Suez.
That is
Portugal, of
interesting.
course.
Okay, and Patryk decides to immediately repair UK, or maybe he won't. The UK doesn't seem to be that important at the moment, but
Yeah, I'm not sure I like Derek's play because these almost seem like 3 free ops now.
yeah,
I don't feel like I need to repair anything in Europe.
yeah, and I don't. I would have rather seen 2 out of West Germany, which must be repaired immediately. So I think overprotecting Pakistan maybe not necessary with the China card in hand. I like one Colombia for sure, and he takes Algeria, which is a fine play. Protects from a D-stall there. But boy, I still would have liked to see one Colombia. I don't like the Colombia play as the U.S. normally, but in this particular situation, when you know that the USSR has D-stall and plans to trigger at this turn, I think Colombia is a good play. It's a forcing function. Maybe you just get a little bit of a less than ideal D-stall, which you force them to put 2 in one country.
Yep, exactly. Completely agree. So 100% the D-stall's coming here.
Yes, for sure.
Of course, I say that, and Derek's going to trigger Nasser or something.
Yeah, Nasser's not a bad play, but I think D-Stall is better. Also, Derek is in Israel, so he could just take Egypt with a boring old 2-op and leave Nasser in the deck if he wanted to.
That's true.
Yep, and here comes the D-Stall, just as you thought. So where's it going to take the influence from? One India, one Finland, one Thailand, and one Indonesia. Okay, makes sense. And so
Yep, that's pretty
now,
reasonable.
yep, this is a pretty reasonable D-Stall. So you've got 3 in South America and 1 in Panama. And I think the response here would be to simply to either take Panama or I might take Egypt.
Do you like the Panama for the 4th D-style point?
It is not my favorite. I like Panama a little bit better than Mexico because Mexico can just so easily get realigned out. Panama forces Patrick's hand there, and sure enough, space duck and cover. So, yeah, I think
That's
it's
true.
okay. I would have liked Nigeria a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm looking at the board and I'm thinking Panama might be your best coup target next turn.
Yeah, I think I would have rather leave Panama at 1-0, and then put that 1-op into Nigeria. I would be spacing Fidel here. I'm not sure. There's an urgent need for those 2 ops, and certainly not a need enough to where I'd want to give up Cuba here. If indeed I were going to play Fidel, I'd probably put 2 into Egypt, right?
Yeah, that looks to be pretty important. Looks like he's
Yourself
thinking
access
about
to
spacing it.
Libya. So yeah, I think I'd space it here. Colombia becomes less important because Derek can just fill Venezuela in response, and you haven't accomplished much. Yeah, spaces it. I like the play there by Patryk, picking himself up a VP, getting himself 1 spot on that space racetrack, and making sure that Derek is going to have to work for Cuba, not just giving away a free battleground in Central America.
Yep. So we'll see how big of a card Derek has here. He has a lot of stuff he wants to fill. I think
So,
definitely he
I
wants to
believe-
take a Europe domination as well.
For sure, yeah. Derek is holding Nasser, Defectors, and Warsaw Pact form. There it is. So certainly 1 into Portugal, 1 into Venezuela makes sense, and then 1 spreading into Argentina to prevent against Hail Mary realigns. Okay, so I like the play from Derek. He's holding a clear domination in Europe. He's at a draw in the Middle East, and in Asia, he is pretty clearly behind. But the Korean War is coming next turn, so he can hope to win that. And what do you think for this 1-op? Not a ton of great places. One in Egypt is useless because Nasser is out and it's in Derek's hand.
What
One.
about Saharan states?
So Saharan states. Okay, yeah, I could see that. Might have liked that a little bit
France
earlier
is
in the turn,
still-
but that's fine. Oh yes, and overprotecting France is a good idea.
Yeah.
It's right now vulnerable
Maybe
to
Tunisia as well, trying to get
Yep.
Libya access.
Yep. So some good spots here for the 1-op. Even though it's not going to change anything immediately, getting some access is always good. And yes, he goes with your play into Saharan states, threatening Nigeria. So good call there, Frank. And we reshuffle, and so a lot of red here on the first 4 cards, and then after the reshuffle, Patryk picks up Middle East scoring. He also picks up 5-year plan, which is very nice to see if you're Patryk, because that means Derek is going to have to score Asia. And however, Korean War is in Derek's hand,
you
and
don't have UK, don't headline that.
Yep, a special relationship is not going to do you much good. So
Yeah, I was gonna say he is happy to see 5-year plan, so knowing Derek can't 5-year plan away Asia's great, but not seeing Korean War also means Derek definitely has it.
yes, but also what's Patryk in a headline here? I think 5-year plan might be the only option, but if you hit Asia, that'd be devastating. Well, let's see. I like 5-year plan here. Oh, and an Indo-Pac redraw. Let's see if Derek can give
We'll see
Patryk
if
a
it
little
goes
taste of his
Derek's
own
way.
medicine. Oh, and he defectors it. Oh, I love that play.
Oh.
I love that play, folks. A defector's drawn on the headline by 5-year plan, cancels out the IP war, and now leaves Derek with only the Korean War to potentially stave
Come
off
on, Derek.
domination here. What a great play. A game-changing moment here on turn 3.
I was gonna say it was unfortunate, but come on, he knew it wasn't gonna work for him anyway.
Yes, of course. Yes, the IP war is Derek is a bit cursed with the IP war. So 5-year plan pulls defectors. That was a nice pull. Of course, Derek would have rather that pulled Asia scoring. And so now I have to think Derek will take the coup. Where would you take it? In Algeria, Panama, Iran?
Probably.
I think I like Panama as well.
Yeah. I don't love Algeria because you're kind of committing to cooing Saharan states at some point to stop yourself from getting realigned.
Yeah, Algeria doesn't do much. You've already got access to France. So Vietnam, cooing Panama, exactly as you suggested. The roll is failed. So now, at this point, Patrick's going to keep Panama. And so I think, knowing that Derek has Nasser, I would certainly put 2 into Egypt. I'd want to go into Nigeria as well. What do you think?
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, I think 3 op, 1 Nigeria, 2 Egypt is pretty reasonable. Do you take Taiwan?
I was just going to ask you that. Are you paranoid enough about the Korean War to take Taiwan? I don't know that I am. Derek is still going to trigger it either way. So that's the likelihood. It's 17%
if it works,
chance
it's a big
that he
loss,
rolls
right?
exactly 5. But I don't think I'm paranoid enough to take Taiwan. I think I'd let it roll.
Fair enough.
But because 3 ops in the three early war ops are awfully expensive, and they think they could be better used here with 2 Egypt and 1 Nigeria. 1 in Israel is an interesting play. Not what I would have thought of. And here it comes. Well, he's going to roll a 5 after I said not to put 1 in Taiwan. Oh, and there's a 6. So a big roll for Derek. He loses out on getting the IP war, but gets his revenge with the Korean War, and now Asia will be a draw. So taking Taiwan would not have helped there. It would have been a big 6, and so Patryk would have been quite upset to see that 6. Now at least he didn't invest the ops. Now I would certainly take Egypt.
Wow.
Boy, I don't like this play, Frank. I just don't like this play. I would have rather seen him take Egypt, and then Nasser comes, and you still have access to Libya and potentially get domination here. So I would not invest any more ops in Israel. I'd rather see Egypt here.
Absolutely. You think he's just scared of Muslim revolution and wants to hold on to Israel for the mid-war?
Yeah, boy, it's a little... He's already in Lebanon. I think it's a little bit early to be thinking about Muslim revolution, especially with Middle East scoring card in hand right now. Yeah, so a simple Nasser play stops domination now, and in fact means you need to dump the scoring immediately. Yeah, and so now... I'm kind of Patryk
surprised that
invested.
Derek invented Nasser.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have just used, of course, the regular old 2-op to take Egypt and left Nasser in the deck for the late war to counteract the dot. But now, Patryk has no access to other battlegrounds. The even is the best he can do here in the Middle East. I would dump the scoring right now before Derek takes Libya and Syria and potentially gets domination.
Yep, 100%. There's nothing on the board that needs to be urgently done, so dumping the scoring is the way to go.
I would without question dump the scoring right now.
Looks like he's reaching for 1 op to do something else, though, huh?
Well, if you go into Tunisia to threaten Libya,
going?
Derek will just take it. If you go put one into Jordan, Derek will just take Saudi
Exactly.
Arabia.
Yeah.
I don't think Patryk's getting domination here in the Middle East, and I think he better. If I were him, I would just accept that, score it for even, and move on. No, I don't think that play's going to do much.
Yeah, you're just encouraging your opponent to take a battleground, which.
Yeah, and if Derek has a 3-op, he can take Libya and Syria, and then you've got domination here.
Yep. Although perhaps Derek is light on ops because he did choose to event Nasser rather than just take it.
Okay.
Looks like
So
that's
there's a
exactly
3-op.
what he's about to do, though.
Yep. So there's the 3-op, and now Middle East is dominated by the USSR. So taking Jordan would stop that, but you can't take it with Cambridge 5, obviously. You've got to use a 4-op, and even if you do that, Derek can just respond by taking Saudi Arabia if he has the ops to do it.
So perhaps a little bit of, or a case of not thinking far ahead to realize you could get dominated if you don't drop the scoring right away.
Yeah, I think the 2 of those ops that went into Israel could have gone into Egypt. Derek would have then invented Nasser. Jeremy, or excuse me,
Gosh,
Patryk.
I'm looking at those 5 ops in Israel, and it's like, okay, those could have been Libya and Egypt.
Yeah. Or, Mexico. Something like that.
Absolutely, yep.
We also should mention that Derek is holding on to Asia scoring now. None of the battlegrounds are threatened, but one of these last 2 plays here is going to have to be the scoring. So, okay, I was wondering about the play of 1 here into Cameroon, because this forces, it's not going to force a coup, of course, but it does force Derek to play ops into Zaire, which means he's going to have to score Asia on AR6, which means, well, okay, so he's going to score Asia now, and I think
Give up Zaire.
so.
Maybe there was an opportunity to jam China and grab a domination.
Not really though. No, because he doesn't have access to North Korea, and both South Korea and Thailand are double overprotected. So that wasn't really gonna happen. Now, Middle East scoring here gets away with the +1 for Derek, and now I assume Derek will take Zaire, and Cambridge 5 is now free. Could also see a space race attempt. Yep. Okay, Derek fails his race. I might space Suez here and hold on to Cambridge. Although no, Derek didn't take Zaire, so I would definitely take Zaire over spacing here, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Zaire's been hanging for so long. It's been
you're just gonna get cooed right out of there, but better, better there than somewhere else.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh boy, I don't like that space. I would have much rather seen I would have much rather seen him take Zaire with Cambridge 5. But okay, so they both fail in their space rolls. Central America scoring shows up in Patryk's hand, along with nuclear subs. I don't think that is particularly useful. Your Syria River skirmish is nice, but Asia already scored, not a huge rush there. I think How I Learned might be the headline here, don't you think? I don't know how much nuclear subs is going to do with, because if you were going to use nuclear subs, you'd want to use it in South America, and I don't think that Patryk has the ops for that.
Yeah, it's another low ops hand, isn't it?
He also doesn't draw a good candidate for UN intervention either. Nuclear subs.
Yeah.
If Africa looked really ugly, this would be a great nuclear subs hand. You just coup away at those 1-stab battlegrounds. But
I think the problem, right, if you headline How I Learned, are you setting DEFCON at 2? And that just allows Derek to take Zaire.
That's true. That's true. But you also are protecting Panama, and you can take Mexico, assuming, of course, we don't see liberation or junta. Nuclear subs is the headline. Oh, a decall. Okay, well, If I had known that Eric was going to go ahead and headline decall, I would have said nuclear subs is a great choice. So the question is Derek going to attack Africa here or Southeast Asia? Is he going to try and get away with a cheap Southeast Asia? Or is he going to just put one in Zaire, one in Nigeria, and force some coups there in the one-stab battlegrounds, which I think Patryk at this point would be fine with. He's got a bunch of low-op cards that are neutral, and so good candidates for one-op nuclear subs coups.
Yeah. I still am perfectly fine with nuclear subs because one of your only ways of getting into South America might be a China card coup in there.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You definitely don't want to get controlled there if you can do anything about it.
Yeah, I guess, and that is another use, obviously, of Usuri River Skirmish is going to be getting the China card back. 4 influence points in Asia right now, with Asia just having been scored and not coming back till at least turn 7 is not that great. But pulling the China card back is always a strong play.
Yep.
So a good strong headline here by Derek, and a pretty good counter by Patryk. It's gonna set this up as an interesting turn for both of them.
I expect all these decall points to go into Africa.
Yeah. It's really not going to do a ton in Southeast Asia.
Looks like he is having a think about it, though.
He might be thinking about his coup target as well, or even if he wants to coup, Patryk headlining nuclear subs means there's not a rush to get DEFCON down.
That's true, yep. Might be thinking about buffing his South America regions to make them less likely to flip from a coup.
So, take stock of the board now. Asia is scored. Middle East is scored. Europe at this point is solidly red. And South America is looking very red indeed. Central America scoring is in Patryk's hand, and we could be looking at a Panama coup here at some point, but he could be looking at scoring domination. I'm not sure if he'd take the risk to get control, but that could be a favorable scoring card for him if Panama doesn't get cooed. And then Africa is going to be where these two guys are going to fight this turn, it seems like.
Yeah, the situation's just so volatile with nuclear subs in play.
Okay, so Derek decides to go ahead and take his coup right away and gets a big roll in Nigeria to flip it to 5. So Derek now with 3 battlegrounds in Africa to 0 Patryk, and I think that certainly demands a response in Angola or Zaire, and probably both.
I'm thinking about busting out a 4-op coup in South America right now.
Really? You're going to go ahead
and... Yeah, because you have all the time in the world to coup Africa later in the turn.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I would be worried that Derek has the scoring.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have domination yet.
You're right. He can't score it right away. So, but I think, Frank, you and I agree on one thing, which is we should definitely see a coup here, right?
I think so, yeah. Looks like that's not what may happen, though.
So fixing Algeria and putting one into Mexico that's an okay play. It does take a battleground, and of course, if Patryk were to coup, Derek could spend 3 ops and flip Algeria, which is obviously much harder to flip back than a 1 stability country.
Yep.
But now we are at the point with nuclear subs in play. If Derek does have the scoring, I would probably score it now for 2 points rather than try and get domination, because with nuclear subs in play, Africa's probably only going to get worse. So
yeah, I agree.
And Derek has already made his play as Patryk's clock is ticking, so we will see what he has decided to do. As soon as Patryk clicks off this, and
it's a junta.
A junta.
It's a junta.
Oh my goodness.
That's
that's tough. And we've got a coup in Colombia. So now with Central America scoring in hand, I think that Patryk either needs to trigger it to score it right now, or I would just take. You could even take Mexico with Usuri or China card or something. I don't know if I'd risk a
That's
2-op
risky.
coup.
Even realigning Mexico, I think, would be safer.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. That's a gamble that does not work out for Patryk. So now Eric has the option to take Mexico here.
Which I'm sure he will. So,
Yes.
interestingly enough, Patryk placing that one op in Mexico did prevent Junta from just straight up snagging it for Derek.
Yeah. So the one in Mexico was a good choice, but it looks like Derek's going to wind up with Mexico anyway, and Derek's going to give up Camp David, an event that I always enjoy triggering as the U.S. So I'm happy to see. I'm always happy to see the USSR trigger it for me, even with the Middle East scored. But yeah, he's going to take Mexico, and so now again, I would you obviously cannot use Cambridge 5 here. I don't know if it's worth using Usuri. I might dump the scoring and then just go to town on Africa. Here we're going to see a China card coup of Mexico. This would be looking for a big roll here. Just needs a 3. Anything a 1 or a 2 here would be crippling. The 3 at least knocks Derek out. Oh, and he rolls a 1. That is a tough roll. That's a tough roll for Patryk. Now Derek can take back Mexico and do some other nasty stuff in the process. And Patryk is going to have to spend another action round scoring Central America, which is an action round not spent cooing Africa under nuclear subs.
Yeah, definitely not the result he was looking for. Derek gets a chance to buff up his 2 stabs in South America as well to make a coup in one of those less attractive.
And very quietly takes domination in Africa by taking Cameroon.
Yes, very subtle.
Again, I would now score Central America for the 1 point for Derek and be done with it and spend the rest of my turn cooing the heck out of Africa. But that's just me. I like Africa coups especially under nuclear subs. Is he going to take another crack at Mexico with his highest op card after giving away the China card? Also going to give away Usuri. Boy, I would just cut my losses here, and indeed, just a 1. So Patryk not getting the rolls here in Central America, and he's burned a lot of ops and a lot of action rounds. Bear Trap is going to space. Frank, you know what I would do, so I'm not going to bother saying it again. But I'd love to hear what you would do.
I would also be dropping the scoring. We are in agreement.
And
there.
Indeed, Patryk does. So just 1 point for Derek on Central America scoring. And now, Patryk with 2 turns available to coup in Africa.
Yeah,
and
Europe.
Europe scoring, and that was going to be 5 for Derek, really, regardless of the timing, unless we hit a lucky brush war for Patryk. So now I think you got a couple of nice coups in Africa, 1 in Angola, 1 in Zaire, to really even out that region. Oh, looking at Argentina, going for the big gamble with the 2-op and doesn't pay off. It clears him out, but he needed to get 1 in there.
1 pip short.
Just 1 short.
Salt
negotiations going to go ahead and fill that. No, he's going to fill. Going to fill South Africa.
That's pretty reasonable as well, actually.
Yeah, and now a coup. Yeah, coup in Zaire. So I like that play, but now Zaire is very realignable.
And cooable next turn.
Yeah, realignable and cooable and flippable. And of course, not only that, Derek retains domination.
Patryk's scaring me with these quick clicks of the cards after a new hand. It looked like he was about to headline Quagmire.
Yeah. So, We Will Bury You is not a terrible headline here, and then you can UN Quagmire. The danger, of course, is that Derek responds by playing Missile Envy, in which case you give up the 3 VP, and then you have to either get Quagmired or give up 3, or excuse me, no, you wouldn't. You would, of course, have to give up Marshall Plan. This hand is not bad enough for Kennedy, but if you are going to,
Yeah, this is
you
a
could.
pretty good hand.
It's a good hand, yeah, certainly. So I guess you could headline "We Will Bury You" and UN Quagmire, but then you can't hold a card at all. Yeah, I wish.
So are you thinking about the "We Will Bury You" headline just to prevent a coup though, or because you could easily just UN it during the turn and use it for 4 ops?
Yes, you could UN. Yeah, you could UN "We Will Bury You" and then Space Quagmire. The issue is that you can't hold a card, but even then, but if you use UN at all, you can't hold a card.
Yeah.
He also just doesn't have a great headline. Clearly, can't headlining Kitchen Debates does nothing. Obviously, can't headline Quagmire. Sadat is fine. Um, if I guess, yeah, I guess that's the play is Sadat and Lone Gunman. So Eric coming out with the Gunman, a little bit of a relief for Patryk to not have that around in the late war. But Gunman could
imagine.
coup Zaire here. Yeah, a bit of a relief for Patryk there.
He could, or he could just reach for a bigger card, his AR1.
Yeah, maybe hunting for South America scoring and not finding it.
As Patryk, I'd also be concerned here, still not having seen AVM or Brush War. I'd be suspicious that Derek has at least one of those cards.
Yeah, yes.
And I'd be shaking in my pants.
Yes, ABM. So Algeria could be a good ABM target. Not a great brush war target. Panama's obviously a great brush war target, but Central America's already scored. So if we're looking at unscored regions, Patryk just couldn't make headway in Africa last turn. And now it's Derek's turn to roll a 1 on a coup.
Got greedy
So
and went with the one-off coup.
Yep, went with the 1-op coup, needing to really just roll a 2. 2 would have been fine, and then he could
Maybe
take
he's
Zaire.
thinking he could just realign it now?
He could realign it, but he'd also have to realign Cameroon, or Patryk could just walk right back in.
Or he could just cram a 4-op in there if he has it.
Yep. And
Maybe a
or
3.
yeah, he could just flip it with a 3 right here. Nope, he's just going to take Argentina. So 1 in Saudi Arabia suggests maybe we're looking at an OPEC here, a 4-point OPEC.
Yep, certainly telegraphs that.
So Patryk here has the opportunity to flip Angola if he wants to. That would stop a Zaire realign and give him 3 battlegrounds to Derek's 2. So, you could see a UN, "We Will Bury You," or maybe NATO flipping Angola here. South America obviously looks terrible, but there's really nothing that Patryk can do. He didn't draw any events that are worth playing here. Big ops
He has
is
a lot
great,
of ops to
but
cram
a
in
ton of
Africa.
ops. But when you have no access, the ops aren't going to do you any good. So I like a flip of Angola here.
Definitely, yeah. Looks like he's making a threat of a realign in Mexico and just shoring up his Africa country count.
Yeah, I would make a more aggressive push for a battleground here. He's left Angola open. And if you're able to flip Angola, you could look at a Botswana play into a South African realign. But more importantly, you get 3 battlegrounds to Derek's 2. That's a region flip, right? Central America's already been scored, so I think Derek's going to ignore the realign threat on Mexico.
Yep.
And in terms of South America, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but Patryk just has to hope that Derek doesn't have it. That's really all he can do.
That is his only option.
And now I do think that is perhaps more likely. Derek headlined Lone Gunman, perhaps looking for scoring cards and perhaps disappointed not to find any, but also not finding any scary events either.
Do you think Derek has South America? I do, because I think otherwise he would have used 3 ops to flip or do more stuff in Africa rather than take Argentina so quickly.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay. Okay, so he's gonna
Yeah.
fill up South America. So do you coup Colombia here, get your mill ops, and try and get a couple of points for presence at least? Knock that down from 10 to 8.
Yep.
Yep. And that is what Patryk elects to do. He's now got 5 in Colombia, so that's going to be an 8-pointer if indeed Derek has it. But Derek also did shore up Angola, so the flip is no longer possible. Solidifying that third battleground. And you are right. Derek puts up 8 points in South America.
Yep, I smelled that one from a mile away.
Yep. Yes, you were right.
So yeah, with the U.S. not getting any useful events, one of the only ways they would have gotten into South America was the coup in there under Nuke Sub's last turn.
Yeah, and to his credit, or really detriment, Patryk tried it, and he just didn't roll well enough. So now with South America scoring and lone gunman out, Kennedy is not a priority hold here. So not being able to hold it is not the end of the world. I like a UN if we will bury you a space of Quagmire and then the rest for ops, and just hope to draw one of the big guys next turn. But in the meantime, I definitely think you need to overprotect Zaire.
Yeah, that looks to be priority number one.
He stopped the realign threat by taking Zimbabwe, but just a 3 or 4 op flip of Zaire is still a big problem. So Africa at this point is the only unscored. Yep. So spacing Quagmire to try and stop
Southeast
double
Asia as
spacing.
well, and I was going to say
Yes.
if either player has extra ops, they can quickly snag some of those Southeast Asian not battlegrounds, but just countries.
Yep. So Derek is going to space, and he will fail as well, but he's got another shot at it if he wants, another shot at those 2 VPs. So yeah, one in the Philippines might be good. Taking Burma might be okay, and then, but really, other than that, if you're not going to be able to, another thing that might be good is a Cameroon coup to set up a potential Nigeria realign. Although there's 5 in there, so that's going to be
There's
be
just
hard
a
to
lot of
budge.
Soviets chilling in Nigeria.
Yep. Yep. You could also think about 4 ops to take Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, Muslim Revolution's still out there, but Saudi Arabia is an open battleground.
Yeah. That's a pretty rare case where you have a lot of ops and actually not too much useful to do with it.
Yeah, the only open battlegrounds here, in fact, are Saudi Arabia and Cuba here on turn 5.
And Cuba is definitely not something you want to take, especially with Central scored last turn.
No, indeed, and Fidel is still waiting to be played. So
Fidel is waiting to be Fidel. Yep.
yes.
I think that's the technical term for it.
Yes, that's of course. Yes, that's the right verb. 4 into Saudi Arabia is not a terrible play here, yeah, and that's exactly what Patryk's going to do. Just take the open battleground. Now, of course, I'm going to look dumb when Muslim Revolution comes right out here, and it removes 7 influence instead of 5. But that's not a bad play, taking the open battleground. Now there's just 1 left on the board. Would like to see Jeremy take Philippines, and I'd like to see Derek take Burma and Vietnam before the end of this turn here, though. But we have yet to see Brush War, and we have yet to see ABM, and who draws those, and how that compares to how and when Africa scoring comes out is going to go a long way toward determining this game. A couple of bad events for Jeremy, and this game could be over. So now a big 6 for Derek in Zimbabwe to pick up his remaining mill ops and really threaten Zaire with a realign threat.
Yeah, Zaire is definitely on a shaky grounds right now.
Yeah. Zaire's in big trouble.
you gotta coup Cameroon, right?
I think Kitchen debates cooing Cameroon is the right play here. I don't know if you need to spend a 3 or 4 op on it.
Yeah, and I think I would have actually cooed Cameroon earlier in the turn, even though Nigeria wasn't a great realign prospect because of the 5 red pips there. I'm thinking there with not much else on the board to do, okay, realign Mexico, and then as a secondary target, Nigeria is still reasonable.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I would have taken Angola earlier in the turn, but that train has left the station. So now he's going to go for the Mexican realigns here. Scoring card is played. So okay, he gets the realigns, but with 12 VPs on the board for Derek, Africa scoring still to come in a region that looks strong for him. Derek ahead on space. He may not live to see another Central America scoring, Frank.
Oh. I really still think when he had the opportunity, realigning Mexico last turn would have been the way to go at +2, rather than cooing at it, and obviously he got unlucky with a few ones, but
Not peace at the expense of freedom.
just saved himself a few points that way.
Here in this hemisphere. And we hope around the
Yes.
world.
So Zaire in big trouble now, and 3 ops can just flip it. Or Derek is going to go for space and miss again. So that's a bit of a break for Patryk. Derek misses 2 space race rolls on this turn. Can't get those 2 VPs. And so I think I would kitchen debates and go for Cameroon here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because he could have just used shuttle to flip Zaire or realign or whatever, but I guess he's really prioritizing trying to get those space points, which is reasonable as well because one small step is a pretty big threat.
Yep, one small step is out there. Although Middle East and Asia are scored, so okay, a big roll
So
on the 1 op coup.
You wouldn't have cared about triggering shuttle.
Yeah. So big roll for Patryk on the 1 op coup of Cameroon. Zaire is still threatened by a regular flip, and OPEC is definitely going to be an event. Just as we speculated, Derek did have it, although he didn't end up taking Saudi Arabia. So at 15, Africa scoring could end the game if this doesn't go to plan. I would absolutely be overprotecting Zaire. It could just get cooed next turn, of course, but then you got to hope to draw grain sales or ABM or brush war. You got to draw a big, scary event and probably multiple of them to get back into this one.
Yeah, it's certainly not looking too great for our U.S. player here.
The Marshall event is actually interesting here, given that there are 6 very good places for that influence. But I just don't think you can spare the ops in a region that's already been scored. You don't know if you're going to live to turn 7.
Yeah, I think overprotecting Zaire, grabbing the Philippines.
A poke of Venezuela is good. Again, not as good with the region already scored. I think I just would be focusing so much more on Africa and Southeast Asia as the scoring cards yet to come out. When you're down 15, you have to make some suboptimal plays just to make sure you stay alive. So a successful space and an arms race or something. Okay. So one small step here is nice. Brush war is nice. ABM treaty is nice, and he controls the scoring. So okay. You know what? Things looking up a bit for Patryk.
So what do you think is the headline you're reaching for here?
Missile Envy's out, so you don't have to worry about that.
You mean duck and cover, right?
Excuse me. Sorry. What I meant to say was Missile Envy is in Patryk's hands, so he doesn't have to worry about it stealing ABM treaty.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah, Brush War is a good headline here, but I think I would rather just take a big old coup of Angola with ABM. Maybe, Missile Envy to try and steal the coup. It could be a good play here. You know what? Missile Envy might be a great play because Muslim Revolution is still out.
Yep. You know it's safe because Duck and Cover's out of the deck currently.
Yes. And Duck and
you
Cover
can
is gone.
event ABM during the turn.
Yeah, I think I would go for Missile Envy. And not knowing that I have the scoring, and that I've got those two big scary events to throw at Africa before I have to play the scoring. I think Missile Envy is a good headline here.
It looks like Patryk is at least strongly considering.
Yep.
Portuguese. Does that give him a domination back?
Well, let's count them up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think it gives them domination, but it does strengthen Angola. So let's see if Derek had Muslim Revolution in his pocket. Yep, arms race. So taking arms race away, I suppose, is good.
That's
although
a big win, yeah.
Unlikely he would have been able to get it off with ABM and Brush
yeah, that's
War
true.
sitting in Patryk's hand. Okay, so
it worked out to
Yep.
kind of attack Derek's hand.
So I think we're looking at a no-brainer Zaire coup with Missile Envy, right?
Derek did not waste any time to make that no-brainer move, but probably was hoping for more than a 1.
Yeah, so now I don't think you use Brush or ABM. I think you just stick 2 into Zaire, take it back, and then you can use your big scary events later.
100%, yep.
I do hate to hand over any VPs at all, but I think you have to hand over the one with you two. I like triggering the Pope if you can spare the ops later, and I would want 2 in Zaire here, not just 1, right, Frank?
I think so, yep.
And then I think a big ABM coup of Angola and a brush war of Nigeria. Of course, you could use those events in South America as well. They might be more effective there, but you've got to. I think with those events in hand, you've got to ensure that you get an Africa domination off this turn.
Yeah, sitting at minus 15, you need this.
Oh, I don't like. I don't agree with this play at all.
Oh, I don't
using,
like that. No.
Taking Venezuela with Africa scoring it, boy, I think that is a major mistake, because now Zaire is flippable. You've lost an opportunity to flip a battleground.
Yeah, that might be the nail in the coffin if Derek just flips Zaire here.
And Derek has the China card. He doesn't have any 4-ops, but he does have China. Okay, a 1-op coup to prevent realigns. Yep.
So now he's banking on a somewhat fortunate brush war, maybe. Flip Angola.
So at this point, boy, I mean, I might even think about I think I'd score it. Yeah, I think I'd score it for the 1. But boy, I think Patryk had an opportunity there. Now, I was just about to say one small step is he's got to be able to get one small step off here. And is Derek going to take that opportunity away? He will. Derek gets the roll.
I was going to say, you certainly had the hand to fight for more points in Africa, so I'm pretty shocked that Patryk opted not to do it with his strong ABM and Brush War cards.
Yep, so now Brush War's got to go to Thailand, right? With Southeast Asia the only scoring out there.
100%.
Got to go to Thailand. There's no other option.
Oh, gotta survive.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but if Derek has Southeast Asia scoring, this game could be over very quickly.
You are not wrong.
I think this has to go to Thailand.
There's no question in my mind.
And I think I would play it right now. I would not wait.
I agree.
Yes, I like the Thailand play.
At least thinking about it, which is good. I should say he at least sees it's an option, which is good.
Yes. So I think you've got to play Brush War here, and you've got to attack. I don't think there's any other play.
I agree. I mean, even if he wasn't in jeopardy of just straight up losing, uh, I think Rush War Thailand is still the play no matter what.
Yeah, it's a 4 VP swing immediately on Southeast Asia, and longer term, it flips Asia domination. And he goes for Italy instead and fails the war, and would have failed anyway in Thailand. So the target didn't matter. Only I suppose Brazil would have flipped, but that's it. And so now Derek on the doorstep, and sure enough, overprotects Burma.
Wow.
So, yep, that suggests he's got the scoring. And so even if Patryk fills Philippines here, that's 2 points for Derek, and that would be the ball game if he has the scoring. One small step won't get any VPs. Space won't get him any VPs, so that would be it if Derek has it. So Patryk choosing to resolve socialist governments. I assume he will just repair this, and take Philippines, of course. But that would be too little, too late if Derek has Southeast Asia scoring.
Unfortunately, yep.
So, Frank, I think my biggest critique here of Patryk's play would be that he spent a little bit too much time in regions that had already been scored. And Derek was then able to ignore those threats and play into regions that hadn't been scored, and was able to score them when they were advantageous to him, despite, in many cases, Patryk holding the scoring card himself.
Yeah, and perhaps not playing a bit more aggressively to try to score some more points, like this turn when he had an opportunity to try to score Africa for 5 points or so.
Yeah, I certainly would have thrown the kitchen sink at Africa on this turn instead of trying to flip over Venezuela. But yeah, he does give up the 1 point in Africa, and then not taking Egypt, I think, was a little bit of a mistake there. I think taking Egypt before Nasser comes out, so you can then get
Yeah.
Libya.
Yeah, there
would
were a
have
few
been
opportunities in the early war where Patryk could have just grabbed open battlegrounds before Derek could.
Yep.
So, right, remember, he could have grabbed Angola before Derek either walked or T-stalled there.
Yes. And of course, Patryk made a major mistake by not willing Derek to roll lower on the Korean War.
Yep.
So
So,
does
yeah,
Derek
we'll see
have
if
it?
Derek has the scoring. I imagine we'll see the chat bubble pop up before we see the card, if that is the case. Oh,
And there it
that's
is.
not the case.
So that's going to do it here. Derek pulls out the win at turn 6. VP win for Derek as he gets to 20 on the track. He'll go to 2-1, and Patryk will fall to 0-1 in the Illinois State Twilight Struggle tournament. So a little bit of a tough start for Patryk, but certainly showed some promise with some of his moves. Made a couple of nice plays. I think he just may have spent a little bit of too much time in regions that had already been scored.
Yeah, I think that was a major cause of the downfall.
Indeed. So I'm not sure if we're going to have an opportunity here to talk with the players a little bit, or if we are going to wrap this up. But looks like Patryk has ended the stream, so we can't see the screen anymore. So I think that's going to do it for us. Frank, any final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, just overall good win for Derek, I guess. Obviously, after that disastrous steamroll last week, I think he was really looking for some revenge and to bounce back.
Yeah, certainly a nice bounce back game for Derek. Gets a little bit of a rebound to move to 2-1. Gets some momentum heading into his next game, and of course the big Korean War roll after a big Indo-Pac roll really doomed him last week. So with that, that's going to do it for our coverage of Twilight Struggle tonight. Once again, Derek Miller a winner tonight after in turn 6 with a 20 VP win and gets the 20th point with a Southeast Asia scoring. So for Frank Zhang, for Derek Miller, for Patryk Krasnicki, this is Justin Abramson signing off and reminding you that nothing is permanent in this wicked world, not even our troubles. So long, everybody.